Hi everyone, welcome back to the Funny Farm. Thanks for tuning in and hopefully you enjoy this video. It's a good one. Again, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Welcome to 2024. This is my first real look at the Ford 8N at the property. I'm so excited. My wife and I were doing some great yard work, so we were able to just get the backhoe, pull this thing out of the trailer and go back to work. So I'm finally getting some time to look at this and I'm so excited. I'm pumped up to see this thing. It looks great. Can't wait to get to work on this. We still have our other projects. The other tractor, I have a video out soon. Actually, before you even see this, you're already going to see the video. So that video is already going to be out. I'm going to work on this guy. So I'm excited to get this thing running. This was owned by the gentleman that I traded our horse tack for. Horse tack was sitting for about 10 years in a trailer. That trailer was removed on one of my property videos. They had this from 1990 till now, 2023. It was a workforce for him. Before that, it was this guy's uncle's for decades. I think he worked for the state of Pennsylvania, and I think he was some type of construction, something like that. Lived on a rural farm in the Butler area, Butler, Pennsylvania. Pretty cool stuff. You know, I did add this to it last time I was messing with it. I had the starter off. Want to do that again. The starter's not catching still. So look at the Bendex, put new wires on it for the battery. But I haven't really got to look at much else. This thing needs a lot of wiring, fuel tank cleaning, tune up. You know, I don't know what's wrong with the transmission, if anything. I don't really know. Seems like it's okay, but I'm sure there's been some mice and whatnot in there. Really excited to get this thing going. How neat. I think this thing is awesome. I did go through the carburetor. I have to go through again. It looks really rusty. I said I wanted to paint it, but that was, you know, I haven't really seen this thing in months. I just love the push bar. This tire is a little low. I'm gonna try to get that pumped up. This tire was flat for years. I'll see if this thing airs up. I doubt it will, but you know, the H's tire did air up, so this one I have hope. So let's do that right now before I get to anything else, just to see if this thing will hold any air. All right, here's our moment of truth. See if this thing holds any air. All right, now I doubt this is going to air up, but it might. Let's see. All right, it's not even taking air. I kind of figured that. I'll play around with it when I get some time. The goal is to put it in to the lean-to where the parade wagon is the high, narrow red and yellow wagon. So I'm going to get the H, pull that thing out of here, and have the new owners come pick that thing up as soon as possible. It doesn't look too bad. Goes into gear. A couple wires missing here. There's the key over here. There's the bad tire. It looks like it's on 3-point dropped. We got a backup light. Okay, so we'll need this tire. 228 10-inch wheel. Let's park right up next to this. I don't know what this is. Oh yeah, so this is really easy to get to. 12. It's definitely a 12-volt conversion. That's the alternator for sure. Okay. But I wanted to pull this one off. I do have a kit for it on this Ford 8N, so I want to pull this off if I can. Take it home and I'll give her a little bit of a rebuild, see what she needs. Hey, there's some extra lights. So I got this seal line off. I got one bolt off here. I'm gonna get another one off. I'm gonna use the Apprentice 3000 here. It's a little 4 inches. This is pretty good. I'm gonna get this bad boy out of here. Night. Okay. Take a video of this. I really like these quick connects here. This just has a little ball on the back right here. Get rid of all this junk in the way right here. This nice little ball, they just pop off. This is great.
And check it out. 2 bolts, 2 quick connects, 1 fuel line, and this bad boy's out of here. Yeah, I don't think that would have ran. So I'm gonna pack this up, take it home, give this bad boy a rebuild here, and hopefully we can get this thing out of here. It was kind of a pain to get the other one off. Some of these are stripped on the other one. I saved it just in case. There is on these, they do have a 6 and 12 volt. This is rated as a starter solenoid for a 6 volt. Didn't catch that until I bought it. So hopefully it still works though. I know some are interchangeable. Just gonna give it a try and see what our best luck here is. All right, I'm dying to see if this thing turns over. I'm just gonna go ahead and grab our fan shroud, our fan blade, see that thing spins. I'm probably gonna have to pull off the starter like I said. What I wanna do first is lubricate the cylinders, remove the spark plugs. This is a Ford flathead engine, so it's a 4-cylinder flathead. Amazing engine. These things run forever. A huge fan of the flatheads. I know our Farmer Clubs also have a flathead. I did replace I replaced the starter cable, the battery terminals, battery cables. I replaced those. That's all I've done in the carburetor. That's it. So let me see if this thing spins over. Let me see if it's turning. It's not. There's some movement. There is a way to manually start this, but I don't have that. I think I have. That didn't come in the trade. Before I lubricate these, I just want to pop this distributor cap, and I want to see what we're working with. Is it complete? Are there raw parts off this thing? Is it clean? Are there bees in here? Spider. There's a spider. Whew. It's complete, all right. We can work with that. It looks like it's been replaced at some point, so that's good. And this is a 12-volt converter.
At least they have the auto lights. We like that.
Will one of these work? Maybe I got lucky on my first 4 I picked. First try.
My eyes don't fool me. It was a 13/16.
I love the Yankee ingenuity how they label the spark plug wires. 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, this is our spark plug check. Actually, not bad at all. Last one, maybe a little bit in there, seeping in. A couple of these are really loose. They don't look that old. I know he told me it's been sitting for about 5 years. This is a good sign.
This guy's gonna go with the good stuff. I have some PB Blaster and some Marvel Mystery Oil. It's a mystery. I'm not sure what it is, but it works good. We're gonna put both these in all 4 cylinders. Let those soak a little bit while I work on some other things. It's really important to clean out with a spark plug set in a flathead. These ones really weren't dirty. There wasn't any debris in there, which is a good thing. But make sure those are clean before you start spraying in there. All right, so I did replace the solenoid, as you guys saw earlier in the video. It's a 6/12 volt solenoid. That could be an issue, but I don't think it is. Let's see if this thing even tries to spin this over. I just put a battery on here from the H. Might be dead. May have to give that thing a charge. I guess I don't think it's gonna spin the engine just because it's still not engaging, but I want to see if this thing still works to a point. And then we're gonna go from there. I want to clean out, show you guys the filters, all that kind of good stuff. Make sure we have oil, things like that. Give this thing a check over. Bigger set. See if this works.
Okay, that's a good sign. Oh, there's something in there. She's not bone dry. Just a little bit of a padiddle. All right, so this still isn't spinning. The engine, turning that engine over, it's not engaging at the Bendix. Makes sense, I figured it wasn't going to, so I'm gonna take that back off. I'll put the spark plugs back in, take that off, see if I can clean it up or just look at it, because early in the video when I looked at it, it was, you know, it was dark, it was outside, it was freezing cold. Not the most ideal conditions. So let's see what I can figure out on this thing. I think this is where issue's gonna be, where it's not sliding. You can see some really good debris. It's rusted up pretty well. This is not engaging when it's on. It's not catching that flywheel. So I think these inner housings are okay. I'll make sure they're all right. I'll clean them up. But this is where our issue is definitely going to lie. Yeah. I'll have this thing cleaned up a little bit more to where now it'll spin. I didn't have that before, just working in the dark and the cold. So now this is functioning. I want to go ahead and just clean this up. We need some sandpaper, just to go ahead and clean all these rough, really exterior up. Clean some of these teeth up as well. They might be sticking or binding. I don't think so, and I'll keep working PB Blaster into this. Didn't carb clean it or, clean all that up and off there. It looks a lot better now. It's at least moving freely for the first time since I owned it. All right, let's see if we can get this to translate into bench testing, the starters. See, this Bendix will move in and out when in operation. Someone would have told me this and I forgot. But when I took this all apart, the brushes all popped out. So I've been trying for the last 2 hours to get these brushes back in, and it's just an impossibility. I've been very close, but no cigar. So I'm gonna take this to my local alternator starter shop to put this back together. I did get this Bendix back together, so I think it's gonna work fine, but I might have to go through the two. So for you guys, you'll see me really soon. We now have our starter back from Big Lou over at Lou's Alternator in Springdale. Really happy about this. Replaced the Bendix on this thing, just gave it an overall cleanup, and was able to get all of the brushes back in. So huge shout out to him. Let's get this back over to the tractor and let's keep on our roll. All right, the starter's back in. I'm gonna reattach this oil line, and then I'm gonna put our solenoid back on this as well. Hook everything back up and see where we stand. You know, it probably was a really good idea to have that starter gone through and checked over. They didn't really replace anything. They put some paint on the top, cleaned it off, re-greased it, replaced the Bendix. They said the Bendix probably would have worked and the teeth looked okay, but just to replace it for, $15, probably a good set for the next 100 years. So I'm glad we went through that. Probably eliminated a lot of possible issues moving forward. We have that back in. We're gonna put that solenoid back on, get a battery back in here, and see if we can turn this engine over for the first time in probably half a decade or maybe longer than that. And I have the spark plugs out. If that works, see if we have any more mystery oil or anything in there coming out of those cylinders, since it's been a couple of days. They probably won't, hopefully, but it'll give me an indication of what this engine might need if those cylinders are still full, which I hope they're not. Also, when we were taking this thing back home to the property, the fuel bowl assembly fell off. I'm not really sure what happened with that. So I have a new fuel bowl assembly from County Line Tractor Supply. So we'll put that back on, fill this fuel tank up, and before we fill the fuel tank up, we'll see if we can spark. But I want to make sure this fuel tank actually holds fuel. I'm not really sure. I think it should, but who knows? And we'll go from there. That's my plan going forward. All right, this is all cleaned up here. So that's all cleaned up. Battery is reinserted. It's die hard, so it's gonna work. All right, let me know if you see anything. So will this thing spin over? Haha. All right, we got some circulators. Nice. Okay. Did you see it? All right, let's check for spark. All right, let me know if you guys see spark. Okay, I don't think I see spark. Let me clean up these connections. So a guy or girl wants to get some emery cloth, and they're gonna rub it and just clean up that connection. I actually do have some emery cloth, but it's somewhere amongst the farm, and well, the place isn't exactly tidy yet. My garage isn't together, so I don't know where that's at. But we do have some, what is this? 80 grit. We have some 80 grit. We're gonna slide between there, and I'm sure, hoping that'll get those connections good. That might at least eliminate that could be an issue.
All right, so I knew I had these in my house somewhere. I ordered these when we first got the tractor, almost a year ago. So I do have spark plug set, well, spark plug and wire plug set, and then a master tune-up kit for the 48N. What I'm gonna do is go back out to the tractor. I wanna make sure that the points, points are gapping, that they're separating when the distributor is rotating. I wanna make sure that's happening. And I want us to check for, just to make sure that's working, make sure if we don't have spark for sure, and then I can replace the condenser and see if we get any spark once that is replaced. That's usually a big faulty part of the ignition system, especially a replaced one. The off the assembly line, old ones, original OEM condensers are very good, high quality. These ones really aren't. They're not even made in the United States. Once we have that, I can put the spark plug wire set on and see if that might help as well. These ones all look pretty good. The boots are fine, there's no cracking, but they could be an issue. So those are the easier things to check out. Also need to gap the points, need to figure out how to gap those, how to rotate the engine slowly enough to where I can gap those. And if all else fails, it's gonna be the coil, which I don't have a coil, but I did call around. A couple places locally have a 12-volt coil for the tractor that I could go pick up for a fairly cheap price. So let's work through these. I'm gonna show you these as well when we get back to the tractor. Let's see if we can see these points opening and closing as the distributor rotates. All right, so here's our difference. New points, old points. Corroded. Let me look. I'm going to open these up to show you guys as well. Let me show you in the light. Some blue corrosion there. I'm going to just go ahead and throw in the condenser to see if that just helps it. But I think the points gap, it's just a host of issues. I bet the condenser's not working. The points don't look like they're gapping. When I gap it myself, there's no spark anyway, so it leads me to believe the condenser or the coil after that. But I think these are going to be our main faulty issue. Here's our new condenser. I just switched over our screw, and I put everything that was old in here. I'm going to save it, and we're going to see if we have any spark after that. I think this thing was actually, it wasn't in place. It wasn't screwed in. It might have been rattling around when they used this. I don't know if that would cause it to malfunction or go bad, or it's sitting for 5 or 6 or plus or 1,000 years might make it, not run properly also. So that could have been it, but we're gonna find out. We have our old plug wires out. We're gonna put our new plug wires in. I did set the gap. Let's see if you can find it on there. You might be able to see there's a slight gap. It's 26 thousandths. That's the gap point set on this 48N.
I did replace the condenser, cap, rotor, and I didn't see any sparks still, so I'm going to go with spark plugs. I'm just kind of working my way through. Spark plugs didn't look beat up, but now that I'm looking at them, they looked a lot worse than I thought. And I reset the gap. I don't think they had a correct gap or a gap at all. I highly suspect that's an issue. Let's see if we can get some power to the coil here. Okay, I got it reassembled, our new cap, wire plugs, and I put one spark plug on the far side just so when I'm manually trying to jump the starter, I can see if we're getting any sparks. So now we have our new points, condenser, rotor, cap, wire plugs, and one spark plug that's new. Although they were still the 216 auto lights, I just suspect that the guy put these other ones in and never used them. It doesn't look like they've ever been fired. But still, let's put the new ones in like I said, and let's see if we have any spark yet. I did change that wire to the condenser, or to the coil. So I'm hoping we can get some spark now that the gap is properly set. The only other thing I can think of would it be the coil. Since we have no bolts, I'm gonna use a 7/16 to take off this fuel line, and maybe we can take the hood off since there's no bolts for the hood currently on the tractor. Okay, a guy's just gonna assume that the firing order, under the firing order is 1, 2, 4, 3, close to steering wheel's number 1. So I'm gonna reorder that like this, and I'm gonna change this fuel assembly right there. I already have it unhooked. I'm gonna do that. I still can't see spark. I just could be blind. I'm sort of blind myself, so it could be that. Or I'm gonna just go get another coil. So, and I think that should do the trick. So I'm gonna put this in here and just see what we can do. It's just so hard with me having to jump the starter. I can't get around and see everything else with the tractor. I'm only stuck on one side, the opposite side of what the distributor is at. So let's get all 4 of these spark plugs back in and change this assembly and get some fuel. I'm going to remove the old fuel bowl, and we'll go put this new one in. Hopefully it fits in here. It should. Well, that's nice. Oh, good. Look at all that. Great. That's good. Nice. We'll keep that as a spare. Keep this as an extra. So county line. This should be a direct replacement. And we're going to see if this is actually true. Well, I'll be. This is actually a direct replacement. All right. Now let's see if we can line this and this up while we get this tighter and tighter. One more spin. Should be good right here. Wow. Almost a perfect fit. Almost a perfect fit. Let's get my 7/16. Okay, I put about a gallon, probably a little bit less. Let's check for any leaks. Okay, pretty clear. That looks great, actually. Please don't be leaking. We're gonna go and check the carburetor now. Looks like this is holding up perfectly. Good. Let's check the carburetor. Rusty, but no leaks. Contact. Everything seems to be working, minus sparks still. Let me try starting fluid, and the only reason I'm going to say starting fluid is because I'll see if I'll be able to tell if anything's even burning at all. Are we getting spark anywhere? If not, maybe time to consider changing this coil out. Okay. Contact. So I decided to go ahead and pull the coil from this tractor, negative to the distributor, with this positive that goes to the alternator, and to other places, back to the starter. I was just looking and I saw that the wire to the distributor, which would be located right here,
has a big old tear in it. So that might be our issue. One final test. I just rigged up a new wire really quickly. If this wire works, the connectors are a little big. I'm gonna get some smaller connectors, but the wire is 10 gauge, so that's all the same. I have it hooked up to the coil. Just have the coil moved over. Let's see if we have any spark now. If we don't have any spark, next thing I'm gonna do is get another coil, and we should be in good shape after that, hopefully. But let's see if this now has any spark. I did have the coil upside down, and all kinds of debris and dust fell out of that thing, so it's probably shot, but you know, a guy can hope. Stopped at our local O'Reilly's, and they had everything I needed. So I needed some lesser gauge. I've really got a terminal kit. I had the larger gauge, which is what we have. I want to go to a smaller gauge. And then we have our new 12-volt coil. I'll open this up, take a look. But I wanted to get the same size, no external resistor required. So I had an exact match to this, which I'm really happy about. So I'm going to use our new wire as well. I'm going to take off our old connectors, well, the larger connectors, and just add in a couple of our smaller ones to actually fit the wire size of 10 gauge. All right, so I have our wire that I reused. I just put new connection ends on, just ring connect. One's a ring connector to the coil, and we just have a connector down here to the distributor. That should hold. I have everything up. So I'm gonna hook the battery up and see if we have any spark. Let's see if we hear anything different. Let me know. We should have fuel. Okay. Contact. Contact. Oh. Contact. All right, the guys over at O'Reilly were wrong. I got a direct replacement now. I just had this shipped in for 2 hours at O'Reilly's. 12 volt, no external resistor required. The other one they said did not require an external resistor, but when I looked it up online, it actually did. So that would not have worked. So now we have our direct replacement. Hopefully this is what we need. So let's put this back on here and see if we have spark. Contact. So after some troubles that I was having still, I'm tracing back. I have a new coil, condenser. I put the old points back in. I like those better. Cap, rotor, wire plugs, they're all new. There's no power to the distributor still. I checked that with a meter. I'm having trouble checking with a coil while spinning the engine over. There's only me jumping the starter. So I decided I'm gonna check back and try to wire up the ignition switch and the push button. Having some issue with that with this hood on. Some of those nuts are pretty rusted on there to those terminals, and I just can't get them off. I don't have enough clearance. So I'm gonna take this hood off. How to take this front bumper off, right there. And then there was 2 bolts. The only 2 bolts that were holding this entire hood on were right here, right there and right here, as you can see the hole. And now this whole thing should pop off. I'll have the fuel draining out, but I didn't have much fuel in it to begin with. So I'm gonna drain this out, and we're gonna just pop this hood off so we can see our Ford flathead and all our nice wiring. All right, that was not fun, but that thing's off. What a mess with one person, that's a mess. Ford, what are you doing? Oh my goodness. All right, so here she is in the wide open. What I was trying to get to was this block terminal. I want to replace some of these wires from the block terminal and hook up a new ignition since this key's frozen. Okay, this key is frozen in place. I have a new one, but I wanted to hook it up to the block terminal. I could not get this undone. So now I have some open range that we can fix that. So I've really been diving into the electric components of this tractor to try to see why I'm not getting spark. I have from the beginning realized that I'm not getting any power to the distributor. That's the first thing I check, just with a simple test light on the ground to the distributor, and then I have the testing light grounded out somewhere on the tractor. And there's no light. When I'm cranking in the tractor, there's no light anywhere. It's not on, It's not blinking, it's just nothing. So I know there's no power there. Obviously that means there's no spark after that to the condenser, the points, or to the spark plugs. So there's nothing there. I've been trying to test the coil. I went and I got a new coil, if you guys remember, a little bit earlier in this. So I got a new coil and I tested it. So it's 3.6 ohms. I took a typical voltage meter, positive, negative, touched both, and there's resistance in there because there's no external resistor needed. It's in the coil. So 3.6, that tests good. I also had the coil out and I placed a positive inside the terminal, and then I placed a negative just on the negative itself. So I tested the secondary like circuit, I guess you can call it, in the coil, and that was over 9, which is good. It should be below, I think, 10,500. Anything over that, it's bad. And so we're good. We're in good shape. So I know the new coil that I just bought actually is working. It's not like a faulty coil. That's good. So I'm trying to figure out why I'm not, am I even getting power to the coil? Like when I'm cranking the tractor, is there any power getting, am I getting any 12 volts to the coil? I haven't really been able to figure that out, but what I've tried to test was to see, is the coil working to create spark? So what I did, let me just move closer. Excuse this nightmare, I'm going to explain it. I kept the negative on the coil that goes to the distributor. I kept that wire on. I just took it off from the distributor. It's hanging. I clipped a positive jumper cable to the positive. The positive other end is on the positive of the battery. The negative is on the negative of the battery, really the ground. Then I took a wire plug, plugged it into the top of the coil, and ran it to a spark plug that's sitting out. Then I attached that spark plug to the other negative jumper cable. Now, when I touch the negative wire, the ground wire to the distributor, to this spark plug, I should get a little bit of a spark, and I should get spark in the spark plug, which I'm getting, and I'll show that to you. This is actually really cool. Okay, so I know that's working, which is awesome. So that's working. That's really cool. Still kind of at a loss of why it's not working though. So I guess my next thought is the wire running from the ignition to the coil on the positive side, is that wire bad? So this is that wire. Good end. I saw this might have been melted, so I cut it back. So that's open now. And then you can follow that wire, and it goes to this block, which connects to the ignition, the yellow wire of the ignition switch, which I have hanging. So this wire could be bad. I'm probably going to replace it just to see. The other wire, which I have connected that I showed you. So this might also be bad, where it's not grounding out in here. I'm not really sure, but that could be an issue. I guess maybe the wire running from the top of the distributor to the top of the coil could be bad too, but that's also highly unlikely. But again, if I crank this and I put a test light here, there's no power. There's nothing. All right, before I get into this, I want to say too that with our push button, push to start, on this 4 to 8 end, you got to do a push to start, turn the key on, push to start. This wasn't working. And I checked for continuity. When I did that, which I clipped a negative alligator clip on the meter to this, and then I just touched any ground or metal, and that makes it actually spin the engine over, funny enough. Now, I don't exactly know what that means, but I can't get it to work while pressing the button. I think the button's actually bad. I'm not really sure how to confirm that, but it does work. The button doesn't work. So I'm gonna get a new I'm gonna change that up to get that.
All right, so I have an extra, I have both sides of the coil hooked up. I have an extra side on the positive. That's going to be a hot wire. I'm going to check this hot wire, and I'm going to put this directly to the battery, positive side of the battery. And I'm hoping, if I can undo this, I'm hoping this gets me hot, and that gets me power to the distributor, and I'll see spark right here on this spark plug. I actually hook up a spark plug checker, a spark check. All right, so now I'll easily be able to see this light. Okay, I think I'm good. Hot wire to the battery, direct to the coil. Let's try to jump the starter, see if that works. I think I found our culprit right here, this brass or copper piece that connects to the ground of the distributor. This piece was off. It wasn't connected to the bolt that connected to the points. So that was off and we didn't have spark. Now I think we should have spark, because I knew we should have had spark with directly from the battery to the coil. Let's test this again. We have spark. Yes. All right, we have spark, good. So now let's hook up let's hook up the old wire from the ignition and see if that wire is actually good. Let's try to get spark with the old setup. So let's see where I'm losing spark at, if I'm even losing spark. Okay, no spark there. Let's hit the key again. Now let's see. No spark again. So maybe that wire's bad. Let me go ahead and change that wire. New wire's on there. Old wire's off. Let's see if this thing has spark now. Still no. Okay, I still don't know why it's not getting spark when I have the ignition system hooked up. I must have something wrong. When I run a hot wire to the battery, I have spark just fine. It looks like it's gapping properly. So I'm gonna try to give this thing a start while I have that hooked up, using some starting fluid, and I'll work my way up with that. I'm gonna order a new wiring harness for this. They're really cheap, 30 bucks. So as long as I can get it started, I'll be good to move to that next step. So with the hood off, I can set timing. So I want to find top dead center, number 1 cylinder, closest to the steering wheel, where that cylinder is the whole way to the top, and I have some type of pressure coming before that. That way I know that's on the compression stroke. Once I have that, line it up with the distributor, and we should be timed correctly. I assume the tractor's timed correctly, but it might not be. We just tested that, and I didn't see anything. I know I have decent compression. I know that there's a lot of good stuff we've done, and we have spark, but there was nothing. It was flat. So that leads me to believe maybe we're also out of timing somehow. So I'm gonna go ahead and check that, charge the battery and check that. It looked like number 1 was on top dead center, so the distributor was facing right here. So I made this number 1. 1, 2, 4, 3. Let's see if we get anything out of this engine while we're turning it over. I also adjusted the carburetor, the adjustment screw a little bit more down. I'm gonna pull the choke off this one. Choke won't stay, so I'm gonna have to hit that and pull the choke out at the same time. Maybe that does something. It wants to go with that, with the choke out. I wish I could get the choke to stay. I don't know why I can't.
I can't really adjust timing with the hood back on. So I have it as much as I think it's gonna work, I think. I'm gonna put the hood back on, hook up the fuel line. It's gonna be easy for me to have fuel directed to the carburetor while I'm working the starter solenoid. Just the way it's gotta be until I have, I wanna be able to get it started and get it running. I think I can get it running and idling if I have that fuel. But it's just so hard, I only have two hands if I don't, and I don't have this push button working because I think it's faulty. Oh no, well we're gonna try to figure that out. Contact. She wants to. Contact. I really haven't heard any backfiring or really anything. A little bit sped up of a rotation, but not much. So I organized it as counterclockwise now, the plugs, but counterclockwise starting one at the radiator and not towards the steering wheel. So maybe I have it. Maybe that's the way it's supposed to be, looking at a diagram. So let's see if this changes anything. Okay, I cleaned out the carburetor. It's been 8 months to clean that out. Kept timing the same. No starting fluid. Let's see if it does anything. Oh, we got a fire. Oh. Another day on the job here. Get out of here. Get out of here. Okay, we're backfiring. That must mean timing is that must mean that timing's 180 out or backwards or something. Well, all right, let's try this firing order. I checked for top dead center on the flywheel. I'm at the 0 mark. It could be at the 4 mark, but I have it at the 0 mark because it's hard to read. I readjusted the spark plug, still in the order of 1, 2, 4, 3, counterclockwise. And let's see what happens, if anything. I'm going to do one more throw of the dice, go back to the original settings on our spark plugs, we'll go back to original settings on our wire plugs and see if we can get this thing running. I was really close, I thought, but I don't know if it's weak compression, I have something messed up. I know the order, maybe they retimed it somehow, I'm not really sure, but I'm looking at probably pulling the head off this tractor, and I really don't want to do that, but if I can't get it started, we're gonna have to go ahead and pull that. So before I take the stop back off and begin pulling this, before I do that, I'm gonna just try one last throw of the dice, one last time. So let's give it a try. All right, so that didn't really work either. Doing the same thing. It's not even really sputtering anymore. It's a little bit of smoke, but either way, I align the wire plug. That's kind of just smoking a little bit, and nah, that's about it. So I'm gonna make this hood disappear and we can start taking the head bolts off of this tractor right now.
All right, so we have all of our head bolts out. I disconnected this from the radiator as well. I just made a quick template for all of our bolts. I didn't do that on the last tractor and I really regretted it. So there we go. Everything's nice in order. So let's get this head off. Okay, so just going through the feel test, I don't know, there's something going on. These all look okay. This right here on cylinder number 1, this just feels bent. Something's going on right here. There's a steep angle. Let me clean this up, but something's wrong with this valve, 100%. So I can rotate the engine using the flywheel and a screwdriver. So I have both cylinders, 1 and 4 up. I'm gonna clean these. I'm just looking for how the valves move while I'm doing this. And I'm gonna clean out around the valves, see if I can get these valves to seat a little bit better with doing, honestly, minimal work. Look at all the debris. Woo. All right, so I cleaned this up a little bit. I went through, did a full revolution with the engine and just cleaned off all the carbon I could. And I got in between and underneath all the valves. So it does look like, so you can see, this valve is chipped off multiple spots. This was the lowest compression. But I thought they might be stuck, but they're not. I knew they probably weren't because we had compression of 60 on 1 and 4. And you can see why. You can see with my shadow, it doesn't sit properly, doesn't seat. The middle ones look okay. But this worries me. I'll probably have to replace this valve, meaning carburetor, manifold to get in here to the valves. Just isn't too bad. Probably needs done anyways to get cleaned out. But at that point, should I just do a valve job, at least clean up job on everything? Should I reseat all of these? And I probably should. Pistons looks good. That might be bored 15 thousandths over, so I have to look into that. I think they are, but we'll check that out. But yeah, really not too bad, but just this valve chipping, which is the only one, I really can't leave that. I don't think I can leave. So it looks like we're going to be doing a valve job again. Womp, womp, womp. And the first valve job of a flathead, which is pretty cool. So not what I wanted to see, but you know, at least I can see now. I can finally see what I'm working with. So I'm gonna sit on this and probably order a couple parts. All right, thank you, Steiner, for our valve and our gasket set.
Well, thanks for watching, everyone. We'll have part 2 coming out soon. We've been working on it. I took a little pause on this project as our son Cooper was born, and we have plenty more coming up. So again, please like and subscribe. Leave a comment. Do you own an N-Series tractor for Ford? Do you like them? Do you find them useful? Are you pulling wagons? Just have one. Mowing? Use one in the field? Maybe someone in your family, a generation before you use one? Let me know. I'll respond to you in the comments. Again, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this one, and stick around for part 2 coming up.